For the evening commute. So let's break it down as to what's happening right now for your Monday morning commute. We're going to first go up here into the Ohio Valley where we do have snow. Cleveland, though, look at your temperature, 33 degrees, 34 in Pittsburgh. So we're starting the warm up. It's still cold enough at most of the levels of the atmosphere to get a wintry mix out there this morning. Heading down towards Cincinnati, we're at 33 degrees and some rain being reported right now. But don't be surprised around town that there are some spots perhaps getting some freezing rain or even getting some sleet out there. Going south, Nashville warmed up to 37. We're fine. We're rain. No problems. We won't change back, so don't worry about that. But Knoxville sitting at 30 and waiting and watching for the precip to come in. And so the key is it too dry for it to rain just yet? Is that going to evaporate? And then by the time it does actually start raining, it warms up above the freezing mark. That's the question to watch. New Orleans, we're sitting at 63 degrees with heavy rain heading our way. And then Atlanta, 31. And that's where we find Jim Cantore this morning, 31 degrees with a dew point of 10. So right now it is cold. Take a look, actually, this huge change in temperatures we have seen in the Cleveland area. So 24 hours ago, 4 degrees. I had to look twice to make sure that was right. 4 degrees. We have jumped up to 33 degrees, a huge change. But in that transition zone, we are going to see some of that mixed precip and see some issues. Your temperature changes have happened all through the Northeast. And if you like warmer air, it's for the better. Temperatures have gone up in Boston, 25 degrees. Burlington, we've creeped up nearly 40 degrees compared to 24 hours ago. So it's a lot different as you step outside this morning. The problem is we're not that far from the freezing mark, so we still have to watch those wintry precip chances. But as we get through the week, the thing is we will be warming up. We'll get into the 40s. Look at Pittsburgh, 48 degrees. Look at D.C., 46 degrees. So we're going to get you out of that danger zone of temperatures being in the 30s and too close to freezing and worrying about the frozen stuff out there on the roadways. Look at Buffalo by Thursday, 52 degrees. It's a huge warm up coming, Chris. Hopefully will help out travelers. That's why it's so complicated to make a forecast often when you have freezing rain or sleet in the forecast, because it's not just about what happens at the surface, but about what happens a couple thousand feet up in the sky that's going to matter as to what you have on the ground. So let's bring up our 3D map. Let's bring up the Empire State Building. Why not? This is a good way to talk about what's happening where in the atmosphere. So Empire State Building about 1,400 feet up. And so it's about that level and just above that we start to watch when we have a little warm layer of air that punches in, like we see right here. Temperature right about, I'll move it, 33, 34 degrees. That warm layer is going to melt anything that's falling. And it's cold. It's wintertime, right? So it's starting as snow way high up in the sky. You can see that temperatures in the 20s at 6,000 feet, 4,000 feet. We're still below freezing at 30. So we've got snow falling there, but then it hits this warm layer, the top of the Empire State Building as an example right here. And it melts. Now we've got rain. And if at the surface we're at 30 degrees, it's going to fall as freezing rain. If it warms up just a little bit, of course, if we bring it up to the freezing mark, we will see temperatures bring it down to rain all the way down. It's a degree or two that often makes all the difference. Now, what about sleet? How do you get sleet, you might be wondering? Well, if we have just a little more cold air, and there's enough time for this precip to melt, but then refreeze. I'm going to change all the layers just a little bit, but then refreeze. Then we will see the chance for some sleet to mix on in as well. It's a tough look. I'm trying here to make it happen, and I'm still getting snow. It's a tough little recipe for the atmosphere to put together to get the difference between snow or sleet or freezing rain, which is why it's so challenging to forecast exactly what's going to happen on your roadways. All right, so how does this translate into your forecast? Well, Chris has more on that.
All right, Jen, let's get a look here at what we're...
Happy Monday, everyone. We're going to throw the maps on the floor and get your week started. We got a lot going on with this very first storm system, which brings everything from thunderstorms to freezing rain to snow all the way up into the Northeast. So we'll track all the different precip types you're going to get out of this and who gets what. Plus, we got a big warm up coming our way. Temperatures going above average. We'll see this slide to the east as well, so get ready. And then the next system coming in, this one goes cross country, but it's going to start with some rain and maybe too much in parts of the west here. Worried about some flooding into Southern California. So welcome back, everyone, to AIM-HQ. I'm Jen Carfagno, along with Chris Bruin, and Jim Cantore is out in the field today, getting us ready for maybe some freezing rain, and of course the big football game tonight, the championship.
All eyes are going to be on Atlanta today, especially
for football and for
the
weather.
good news is they canceled school for so many school districts. That will help alleviate some of the traffic issues, but it doesn't take a lot of ice. This will not be a half-inch ice maker, but just a little glaze could be an issue. All
right, today is National Winter Skin Relief Day. It's a day to remind us how to keep our skin from withering in the harshness of winter. So today I think we really need to put on the the moisturizer, the chapstick, but it's going to start warming up. So let's take a look out. I think it was going to be that easy, right, to jump all the way from, temperatures sub-zero to, the 30s and 40s without going through some kind of difficult transition. And that's what's happening this morning. We see it up here in Ohio and western Pennsylvania, where now we do have some snow, but we also have a wintry mix in spots with a little bit of sleet, a little bit of freezing rain. Surface temperatures are still likely cold, that there will be issues on the roadways. So be cautious on your ride. Don't just look at the thermometer. That is one key piece of information you need, but just know that, you've got snow, you've got slush, and it's been cold for quite a while. So it's going to take a minute to warm up. Let's go down, though, into Tennessee, into all the way down into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where it's warm enough that it's all rain. In New Orleans, we've got thunderstorms in the area. Our temperatures are in the 60s. What a change here for us as well. And we get into places like Birmingham. We're above freezing. We're not worried about the frozen stuff, but Atlanta is 31 degrees. Now, the key right now across much of North Georgia is that the dew point has been in the single digits all night. It's just creeping up towards 10 right now. So there's so much dry air in place at the surface that anything that's falling from the sky is going to evaporate at first. The question is, as this comes in, Jim Cantori, will we get a little bit of freeze? And so is the National Weather Service, so are local officials. There actually are some evacuations that go into effect at noon today in areas near the Thomas Fire, the Sherpa Fire, the Ray Fire, the Whittier Fire, because of this rain coming in. We've got 3 to 5 inches of rain very easily that's going to be falling in a short period of time in the areas that just had those large-scale fires. So here's the concern. Mudslides could happen, landslides could happen. And talking about mudslide, what happens is when we get this big heavy rain, it loosens the surface sediments. So, it starts slowly at first, but then it's sort of like the domino effect starts to get going. The rainwater collects, the sediments move down the mountain. Gravity, of course, takes over. And once you get just a little bit of sediment, now you're starting to get bigger boulders, and that takes out trees. You get the slurry of debris that rolls down the mountain. And again, with gravity taking over and just accelerating the movement of this here, of course, it is incredibly destructive. Large boulders, feet of mud, widespread damage can occur. So a trickle of mud sometimes precedes the larger flow, and that can be a clue that this is about to happen. Move to the nearest higher ground, away from the flow path. Also, these things can move at 10 to 35 miles per hour, maybe even as fast as 60. So take them all very seriously, at least the threat